Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
If you've been hurt in a road accident that wasn't your fault, you should really talk to G4 Claims first. Unlike road accident solicitors, we don't charge you for our services, which could see you better off. To keep 100% of your compensation, have a chat with Nicole and the team. You'll be glad you did. Search online for G4 Claims.
Keep 100% of your claim. G4 Claims.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sellik the Thunder podcast. We're on episode 161 this week, and I apologise because I'm pretty sure last week I said it was 161. I was wrong. That's this week. And this week it feels like we can sit here with a few smiles. So to join me and talk about Celtic quite positively this week, we've got a very special guest replacing the usual faces. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the man himself, Tino from the Celtic Exchange. Tino, it's a pleasure to finally have you on the podcast. I feel like quite a few times over the past year or so I've been on the Celtic Exchange and I've been yet to have you on this side. It's good to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, mate, and I'm doing a lot better after last night. Good to make my Celtic Thunder debut. 160 odd episodes in, and this is my first invite. We'll catch that off air, but no, good to be here, mate, and a bit of feel good after last night, isn't there?
No, definitely. And I mean, me, Kieran, Calum and Dylan doing this show the last few weeks have been coming on with the same sort of doom and gloom, and I mean, I think there's just been a fear around the direction Celtic have been going in, and to feel like after last night there's a lot more positivity back inside. It's good, man. It's good, and of course Europa League successes hopefully translate into domestic successes. I'm sure we'll get into it all. The Celtic Exchange, are you doing a show? Have you done a show already to point the people in the direction of?
Yeah, so we always do our weekly. Our weekly is always out on a Monday night, and then through our Patreon channel for members. Too early to plug patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. We do pre and post match for every show, and we do them as lives, which is good fun because there's a lot of interaction with that. So we'll be doing one tomorrow, Saturday night live, ahead of Tynecastle on Sunday. So that's still to come, and we'll look forward to chatting all things Celtic then.
Fantastic, Tino. Well, there you go. Everybody who might not already be on board with the Celtic Exchange YouTube channel and the Patreon and such, go check it out. I'm sure you'll find some great deals. I mean, Tino, I feel bad for you because I always love seeing the clips of your show, and it's one of the ones that I'll watch from time to time when I'm not exhausted talking about Celtic. And the sense of professionalism you guys have. You're now over here where we talk about kebab pies and favourite pot noodle flavours. I'm sure you're buzzing for that, mate.
Do you know, I have to laugh. So you put out a tweet earlier on saying, any
That's
questions
right.
for the weekly? It's like, what's Tino's favourite meal deal? What's his thoughts on kebab pies? And other questions of that nature. So, all good. I'll try my very best to answer them as best I can as the show goes on.
Totally unserious podcast. You'll get used to it as we go on. Don't worry. We should get into the serious business though, and as I said, we have smiles on our faces after last night, and Celtic pick up a vital point, it feels like, in the Europa League. We were 2-0 up, and obviously being 2-0 up, drawing a game 2-2 would usually mean some questions to be asked and maybe some disappointment. I don't know about you, Tino, considering we were down to 10 men away from home in Italy, a place where historically Celtic have struggled. I wasn't too disheartened by it. Yeah, gutted thinking about what could have been with 11 men on the park, but it does feel like a massive point. Just talk us through your initial reaction to last night and the kind of full-time result.
Yeah, I think it's a massive point. I think the whole thing changes, Ryan, on 34 minutes when Hattati does his thing and makes the long walk down to the dressing rooms. And I think at that point, if you're offered any sort of draw at 1-0, you take it. We managed somehow to get the second goal before half-time. Brilliant stuff. But I can't really get on board. I can understand each their own opinion-wise, but I can't really get on board with the thoughts that, we let ourselves down, how can we not hold on to a 2-goal lead? The whole dynamic of that game changes dramatically. You've got a team at home, kind of fairly passionate home crowd. Talented side as well. I know they're not in good form, but they've got some serious talent. Your man that scores the second goal is a great player, the English fella. They're just a really decent side on their day. And I think to give them that man advantage just left us with a bit of a mountain to climb. And I thought, real credit to the guys. I actually think everybody to a man pretty much stood up. And even Less so to an extent with guys like Johnny Kenny and the Gren who struggled a wee bit, but I mean your stalwarts, your Schmeichels, your Trusties, your Scales, your KTs, your Calmacs, guys in my head up top. I thought there was a lot of guys really stepped up to the plate, and I think ultimately, Ryan, that is a reflection of the manager. I think the team are playing in Martin O'Neill's image, and we're getting the rewards for it.
No, absolutely. I think that it's night and day, the European performances this season under Martin O'Neill compared to the one that we got with Wilfred Nancy. And then you could even say, and I know we got the win against Sturm Graz, but maybe even the games under Brendan Rodgers to a lesser extent. I think that Martin O'Neill has obviously got these guys running through brick walls for him, and that's been one of the kind of main observations from the fans out with, and I get it is easy to be frustrated, and I can't fault people for thinking, oh, maybe there was 3 points there and maybe we could have done better to protect it, but I think it's also key to remember, Tino, that this is a team that all year we have criticised, maybe fairly, maybe harshly, that we've been let down with at times, and a team that we've just clearly said hasn't got a lot of quality in it. So you're playing the game where you can't add any new signings in, you're playing with the registered squad. I think to expect them to hold on to that 2-goal lead, especially down to 2 men, when everybody's working twice as hard, would have maybe been just a little bit of a tall order. I don't know if you would agree.
Yeah, as I say, excuse me, I think when Rio Hattati gets sent off, any hope, excuse me,
You're right there,
any
son.
hope. It's my kebab pie from earlier on. Any hope of getting the 3 points or the all important one at that point, it just looked really, really slim. I got all deep this morning. We do a thing called The Daily on our Patreon, and it's just a very short podcast from me in the morning, usually just a few to 5 minutes long. But today I spoke about, there's a concept in football coaching, I think it's an FA thing, it's called like the 4 corners model, and it basically professes that to progress a team individually or as a group, you should focus on 4 things: technical side of the game, tactical, physical and mental. And from that point of view at Celtic, the technical stuff's all taken care of by Sean Maloney's, Mark Fotheringham, Steve McManus, anyone else of that nature. Tactical, I think, is a Maloney and O'Neill production together. I think they two take the lead on tactics, and I thought, just very quickly, KT taking the corner, which led to our second goal. That's a tweak. That's Arne Engels was our go-to corner taker, and he's excellent at them. But an in-swinger was the decision, and that's led to the second goal. So that's technical, tactical, physical. Sports science guys, get your guys as fit as possible. That's fairly straightforward. But it's the 4th pillar. It's the mental side, which is Martin O'Neill all over the back. 100% Martin O'Neill. His biggest strength, and he knows tactics and all other sides of the game. But the man management is his big thing. And I think, as you say, he's got guys willing to go through the brick wall for him. You just need to look. I think Celtic put a tweet out not long after the final whistle, and it was 4 images. It was Martin O'Neill giving bear hugs to, I think it was Trusty, Schmeichel, Calmac and Colby Donovan.
I think there was a great one with Kieran Tierney as well that I was actually going to use for the thumbnail of this podcast. Sorry to cut you off, but I was like, it was just such a nice image, yeah?
Yeah, so I think it just shows that these players are all in for him between now and the end of the campaign. And he himself, it's a two-way street. He's made that connection with these players. He came in at first, it was calling Sriracha, the wee Argentine fella and the lad and young man and all that stuff. And that's all part of the Martin O'Neill shtick. He now knows these players particularly well, and they've been in the trenches together now a couple of times. The big one at Feyenoord, the big resulting performance last night. And that connection is there, and we don't need to dwell on the Wilfred Nancy experiment. It was an experiment, it didn't work. And I think that Brendan Rodgers, the heart had gone out of that team as well. It had become slow, turgid, uninspiring. Now you've got a guy who's come in out of nowhere, 6 years out of the game, and shown just why he's so revered. It's brilliant to see, and if the team can keep that kind of spirit between now and May, I think we'll be in a good place.
I love that you brought up that theory or whatever the word I should use is that you've talked about there. So was it tactical? What was it? What was it for again? Physical,
technical, tactical, physical, and mental/psychological. So that Martin O'Neill, he takes number 4.
I'm glad that you've brought that up because and this is one of the points I actually did want to bring up talking about last night's game was. I've actually seen a few people online surprisingly criticise the tactical approach from Celtic last night. And I don't know if you've seen some of this as well. And I got a few people in my comment section saying the same thing. Like, oh, we went too deep too quickly. There was no need for us to play like that. There was no need for us to go as deep. And I think, in the 90th minute or so or late in the game, we showed that if we did play a wee bit more advanced, or if we opened up a wee bit, we might have got something. But I don't know if I can necessarily prescribe to that. I think it would have been a complete risk if Celtic opened themselves up after going down to 10 men and didn't play as deep. And I get it, we're Celtic and we're known for playing good football, and it's what every Celtic fan wants. But I think it comes back to the point I made a moment ago, or before you spoke about that there. But like, you've got to consider the circumstances around you, and you're playing a team who are off the back of winning the Coppa Italia, a team who were, before last night, well within their rights to challenge or think about challenging for the top 8. I don't know. I just think I was kind of surprised by the amount of people saying that Celtic should they have went as deep as they did. Did you see any of that? Do you agree with that?
I've seen plenty of it, and I completely disagree with it. I can't quite get on board with it. Someone on our live, I think, was saying, why did we sit so deep? Why did we camp on the edge of our box? Why did we invite them on? That wasn't by design. You don't say, let's head back to the 18-yard line, lads, and hold out for the best. The game dictates that. 11v10 dictates that. And I thought, if we're looking at Bologna, to their credit, they played 11v10 how you should do it. Find the free man, stretch the team, go left to right, right to left, stretch it as much as you can, and then when you get an opportunity, maybe 1-on-1 with a fullback or even 2-on-1 with an overload, go and try and take advantage. And that's what we've seen, actually. Their first goal, it's a cross from out wide that's flicked on, and then the eventual header. And the second one, it's the guy, what's his name, the guy that scored it, the good player?
Jonathan Rowe. Is that you're thinking of? Yes.
Yeah, very, very talented player. I was looking at his history today. Norwich for a long time, Marseille briefly, and then on to Bologna. But yeah, he then comes in off the right-hand side. And I also, just while I'm at it, I don't know where you're at on this. I don't hold Kasper Schmeichel responsible at all.
No, I agree. And I get, I kind of, to maybe a minor extent, see what people are saying with the first one. He's done his best there. He's even got a touch to the ball. He can't do much more than that. But the second one, I maybe understand to an extent. But it happens so quick. He's so blindsided, and I'm like, listen, I've been critical of Schmeichel all year, like everybody has. But to throw him under the bus after having a pretty stellar game for the remainder, I think would be very harsh.
Yeah, and I think that the same as you with Schmeichel. Credit where it's due, as well as criticism where it's due. He's had some terrible moments for Celtic this season. He's also had some big moments, and Falkirk was a big one for him. I think he was man of the match against Falkirk last midweek, and I thought he had a really big game last night. I seen the stat; they had 36 efforts on goal, and Schmeichel dealt with a lot of them admirably. But the first goal comes at him from 5-6 yards at pace, bullet header. And then the second one, the guy just catches it sweet. It's gone through a ruck of bodies and there's movement in it. So, no issue with Schmeichel. But yeah, going back to the tactical side of things, Celtic didn't choose to camp in. They just had to. The game dictated that. And then actually in the latter stages, within the last 5 minutes, the game just opened out a wee bit. And I wonder if that was Bologna having... That was it. They'd their bubble had burst. They didn't have anything more to give. And we did have a couple of chances. And I thought that one in particular... Negren could have done better. Him and Maeda, I think, almost found themselves 2-on-1 on the right-hand side of the box, and Negren picked the wrong pass. But it'd have been greedy to hold out for the win there. I'll take the draw, and I'll take the belief that the draw will give the team as well. I think it's huge ahead of Sunday.
No, absolutely. The psychological boost that it should give this squad, especially heading into what could be a game that helps decide who wins the league this year, I think is massive. And there'll be a lot of talk about, tired legs. And we did, you could tell by the 90th minute there was some players who just gave it their all. I'd like to think that the psychological aspect of everything will give them that boost. And listen, this is a team that's more than used to playing 2 games a week or whatever, and they've done it for years. So it shouldn't faze a lot of the guys in here. And if there's changes that have to be made, there's changes that we made. We'll come on to that in the kind of second half of the show. You mentioned a couple of people earlier and just there a moment ago. Standouts. Who was the big standouts for you last night? Seen a lot of praise for a couple of individuals in particular, but is there any names that jump off straight away for you?
Yeah, I think Trusty got the official man of the match. Is it Boston Trusty? One of your guys is calling him just now. He had a big game, big performance, and pleased for him because, again, he's come in for criticism. But actually, is there any player in the whole squad that hasn't been criticised at different times this year? Negren's top scorer, he gets criticism, and rightly so at times. Schmeichel, Calum, you name it, they've all had it. So that's just the way this season's been. But yeah, in terms of last night, Trusty was huge. I think Schmeichel would be my man of the match. I really do think he done that well. But beyond that, you've got that whole kind of spine thing going on. Schmeichel, Trusty, and Scales, Callum McGregor in front of that, and Dies and Maeda leading by example. I thought from an early stage and the work that he done in the 6th minute to set up the first goal, right through to what he was doing in the 90 whatever minute. Real credit to him as well. And he walks a fine line, doesn't he? He was on a yellow card from about 25 minutes in, and it was a daft yellow card. It was a wee bit naughty. But after that, he won't change his game for anybody. That's just how he plays, and there was people suggesting you need to take him off now, and I can understand that, but he was so important to the win. But there's several players, Ryan, to go and get something in Italy against what is a decent side, you need 95% of your guys doing their thing. And I thought we got that. Reo Hattati let himself down as much as anybody else, but that aside, I thought they all stood up well.
I like how you brought up Rio there, because it was penciled in as my next talking point. And by the way, I agree with everything you said. I think it's, it is good to point out the real stars from last night. Austin Trusty, for me, being that main star. But I think everybody deserves the credit for what Celtic got. If it wasn't for the whole team performance, especially after going down to 10 men, I think many a teams would have buckled under that pressure if you're looking at a team with similar quality levels to Celtic anyway. So, no, everybody deserves their flowers. Reo Hattati, the only player who maybe comes out of last night not getting those flowers, in fact, made a lot of Celtic fans quite angry and frustrated. I was one of those fans. I know, Tino, you do it so well of keeping your cool about you and looking at things as level-headed as you can. But look, I think if anybody saw my match reaction last night will have heard me say it. I'm just really at wit's end with Rio, and last night it just felt like a kind of tipping point for me. I don't know what's went through his head in that moment, and I get it, players make mistakes, but it was just so frustrating. I felt like it let everybody down. And Martin O'Neill did come out after the game and said, look, listen, he apologised, and I think he said he apologised profusely or something like that, I think was his words, that he was waiting for Martin O'Neill after the game. And I'm glad that obviously he does have that apology in him and feels that responsibility, and that he's let the team down a little bit. But it was just a moment that I think might have summed up Reo Hattati's season. I don't know where you've stood over the course of the campaign with Rio, Tino, but it just felt like a culmination of a player who I'd look at and see that's mentally checked out.
Yeah, I just don't know where it's gone so wrong for Reo Hattati, because we all remember that one of his first games against Hearts at Tynecastle, ironically, obviously will be there in a couple of days' time. That goal he scored, I think Craig Gordon got it on the way back out. It flew past him. It was such a brilliant strike on goal, and you thought, what a player we've got here. He had big performances and goals against Rangers. We've seen it in Europe. That is the biggest frustration with Reo Hattati. If you've got a player who you just think's not good enough and never will be, you can accept that and you move on. But the evidence is there. The body of evidence over the last, maybe 3 years now of Reo Hattati. You know that he's got it, and then some. So that's a frustration that somehow or for some reason he's not shown the best of himself. And like a lot of folks and, podcasters or otherwise, during this season, we've often been doing a pre-match show and talking about, will Rio start, will he not? And you always kind of give him the benefit of the doubt by saying, but when he's on it, he's unbeatable, one of the best midfielders in the country. But how long can you keep saying that for before you need to say he's not been on it for some time? And I think this season, by and large, he's really not done it. He scored a goal, was it game 2 against Aberdeen at Pittodrie when we won 2-0, great strike. And he's had one or two other moments of magic. I thought he had a big night against Feyenoord, actually. And maybe that was in Martin O'Neill's thinking for last night. But even had Reo Hattati been subbed off at half-time, let alone sent off before half-time, we'd have been talking just now about the disappointment of Reo Hattati because he was so poor in the game. The first booking, as well know, he was actually through on goal, effectively, from a great Calum McGregor pass. He didn't have the legs. He gets dispossessed by Lewis Ferguson and ends up wiping him out back at the halfway line. And he had so many slack passes. He took the ball into midfield, couldn't control it, gave away possession. So that would have been disappointing. But to go and add to that by getting the sending off, and yes, it's harsh if you want to call it harsh. It's also correct. I think it was a correct call when you see it. In real time, I thought the guy had bought it. When you see it back, he doesn't lash out. That sounds dramatic, but he does gesture towards the guy, and that's enough to get you a second yellow these days. And I just wonder how Martin O'Neill will have dealt with it behind closed doors, because in football management over the years, there's what you say to media and there's what you say to your dressing room. And somebody I know of told us a story that I think it was Magnus Hedman who made a bad mistake years ago when Bayern Munich beat us in a tightly contested Champions League game. And the word is that Martin O'Neill tore strips off him in the dressing room after the game. Now, I don't know if 73-year-old Martin O'Neill still does that. I know that he still got it in his locker because he wanted to go boxing with the fourth official at one point. But I don't know if now in the modern game, I don't know if you can do that actually. I don't know if you can get in and do that with players. And I'm sure Rio Hattati put the paws up and did apologise as discussed. But I just wonder how Martin O'Neill played it behind the scenes. Maybe didn't quite let him away with it and put a marker down as to how unacceptable it was leaving your mates in the trenches. I suppose we'll find out when it comes to Sunday, because there's a call to be made there in terms of the midfield, and I know we'll get to it, but I don't know if Rio features at all. I don't know how he plays that.
You stole the words right out of my mouth, mate. I was literally about to say Sunday might tell you everything you need to know, because it's not as if we have this excuse of, oh, well, Rio will be knackered after Thursday. He only played, half an hour, just over half an hour of the game. It's not as if we have the excuse that Benjamin Negrin came on the park and was fantastic. Like, if Rio Hattati doesn't start the game, I think that might say a lot about what Martin O'Neill thinks of the situation. As you said, is 73-year-old Martin O'Neill going to be screaming and shouting, especially a guy that, and I mean, this might not have anything to do with it, but it's not as if Rio is fluent in the language. He's not going to be standing there understanding Martin O'Neill, flapping his arms about, screaming in his face. It's one of those ones that I think that Martin O'Neill will be disappointed, and I think he'll let him know he's disappointed, and what he says to the media will differ. I'm almost certain of that. I mean, Martin O'Neill might come across as, especially in his older age, as the laughy and the jokey. Some people have said still the after dinner speaker Martin O'Neill, but I think when you mix real life back or real football back into it, I think Martin O'Neill's very serious, and who knows, that's just me speculating. I could be way off on that, but everything else you said about Rio, I think you're nailing the head. You know, I just think he's a player that has let me down this season. No idea what happens with his future. I mean, it reiterated the point from last night, so many saying that his Celtic career maybe is as good as done. But let me ask you this question, not so much for this window. Would you move him on in the summer?
I think you have to, and I think for Rio, he'll be wondering what's gone so wrong, because if you'd have sold him after 1.5, 2 seasons at Celtic, he could have maybe got the move to, I don't know, mid-table La Liga, lower half Premier League, mid-table Bundesliga, something like that. I think those options don't exist for him anymore. I don't know. I presume offers of a nature have come in for Rio at different times over the years. I don't know who's chapping our door today for Rio Hattati, and I wonder if the move that he himself maybe envisioned at some point just isn't there. My best guess is that he might end up just seeing out his contract and sailing off into the sunset. We probably don't cash in. And the chat back in the day might have been you could get 10 to 15 million for Rio. Now you'd be lucky to recoup was it 1.5, 1.4 or something we paid? I don't know, and I don't want to sound downbeat about it, because he's given us some brilliant moments, and I really have enjoyed some great moments from Rio Hattati. He's a real talent, but you're only as good as yesterday and all that stuff, only as good as your last game. And his last game was a shocker, and that's the cutthroat world of football.
That is, and God knows when his last 90 minutes that were worth talking about was, to be quite honest. But listen, we'll see what happens. He's got the rest of the season to recover if he's given the chances. We'll see how Martin O'Neill treats him. He's been up and down since he joined, and I'm sure he'll be up and down between now and the rest of between now and the end of the season, to be quite honest. Just to kind of wrap up on the European chat before we move into the half-time segment of the show, I think just looking at things in retrospect and how things have went for Celtic away from home in Europe, to be honest, Tino, I'm stunned at how well we've done. And granted, I don't want to lower the standards at this football club, because I want better. Ideally I want Celtic to go on the road in the Europa League and win 4 out of 4. But you know, you've got to be realistic about these things. Celtic have managed to win in Feyenoord, draw with 10 men in Bologna, draw in a very tough Crvena Zvezda. The only loss came at the hands of Midtjylland, and you can sit there and guess what one of the 4 games I managed to attend this year.
Yeah.
The 4 games, Tino, I can't believe how well we've actually done considering the state we've been in. I know that's only 5 points out of 12, but if you asked me back when Brendan Rodgers resigned in particular and we found ourselves in this mess, and especially after that Midtjylland game, how many points we'd go on to get, I wouldn't have expected any at all after that. So I think we've recovered quite well, and we've gave ourselves something to be, maybe pride is a stretch too far, but at least something to be content about after what's been an up and down season.
Yeah, I can never buy into the whole thing about scrap Europe. Europe's just a bonus. Some teams and some managers might make that call. Martin O'Neill's not that guy. I think he wants to win every single competition he's in, no matter what it may be. And I think you've seen that even just how he approached the Auchinleck game. We chatted at the start of the week on our show about, I think Martin O'Neill finds it hard to get excited about Auchinleck at Rugby Park on a Sunday, but he gives it the professional respect it deserves. And he wasn't thinking about Bologna until the final whistle went after Talbot. Then he can look on to last night's game And after last night and on the plane back, the focus is all on Tynecastle. That's just how he works. And in, chatting earlier on, he said in his press conference ahead of the Bologna game, in terms of Europa League as a whole, well, we're here now, we might as well try and do something. And I like that. That's how Martin O'Neill works. There's a couple of interesting things at play as well. So Celtic, we now face Utrecht, who are 34th out of 36 teams in the league. They've got 1 point from 7 games. They've got something like 2 wins in 16. I had a wee glance at them last night. Celtic, if you don't take care of that next week, you don't deserve to qualify. So they should take care of business next week. And we're in 24th place just now, so that would keep us minimum 24th and we go through. Porto are in the mix. Martin O'Neill's nemesis of Porto. They're sitting around about 9th, I think, at this moment in time.
Yeah, that's right.
There is a chance you could get them in the playoff, and that would just be incredible. 23 years on from Seville, for Martin O'Neill to go toe-to-toe with Porto and maybe right some of those wrongs. So I don't know if anyone's mentioned that to him. I think somewhere down the line he'll be aware of that. And I'd love to see us just push it as hard as we can and go as far as we can in that one.
It's fun because I think, as you said, I think the two teams, if it finished today and we were to go through, I think it would either be Porto or Genk that we would play in the next round of the competition. And I was, it just feels like there's something written in the stars there. I mean, I made the point earlier on, and I'm sure everybody's got somebody in their social circle that said it. We talk about, we replaced Jota with Jota, we were thinking about replacing Kyogo with Kyogo. Well, the last Celtic manager to win a European knockout tie was Martin O'Neill. So are we looking at potentially replacing Martin O'Neill with Martin O'Neill if he gets through and wins a knockout tie? Look, listen, I never like to call it a write-off or anything like that, or like to jump to conclusions. Utrecht should, as you said, we should be beating them. But I think that we need to make sure we don't assume we beat them. However, as well, I don't know if you knew this, Tino, they played a second-string team on Thursday, which might indicate, or at least their version of a second-string team, which might indicate they might do similar at Celtic Park. We're in a good position. And I'll ask you this just to finish up. Are you confident?
They would beat Utrecht.
They would beat Utrecht.
100% confident. It would be a shocker not to. Patterns tell you a lot in football, and even the pattern from Martin O'Neill's first interim spell added to this recent spell, or most recent spell. You just can't see it. Listen, anything can happen in football, and strange things can happen between injuries now and then, or freak goals or whatever. But I can't see anything but a Celtic win, and I've been wrong about a lot of things in the past, and I might be wrong about this as well, but you've got to go out there and be professional, take care of business, and take your place in the next round. Motivation is huge in football, and if you don't have anything, there's nothing to play for apart from a bit of pride. But, if you're sitting third bottom on 1 point, why would you risk injury when the league campaign must be more important now for Utrecht? So everything points towards a Celtic win. Stranger things have happened, but I can't see it on this occasion.
Love it. Well, that's that for the first part of the show. We'll revisit all of this next week, and hopefully we revisit it, me, Kieran and Calum and Dylan, whoever's on the show, with smiles on their faces again and not major disappointment. Anyway, I'll move on to the halftime segment. Now, obviously, Tino, if you're aware, we would normally, we like a quiz on this show. We would normally do a halftime quiz and a full-time quiz, and we try and change it up every week at halftime. But usually, when there's three of us, and somebody's hosting, we're able to have that competitive vibe to it. Of course, it's only you here today, so there's nobody for you to compete with. So I took a wee half hour out my day earlier to come up with something different for today, something that we've never actually done on this show. Are you a fan of a crossword?
I've been known to scribble the odd crossword. I mean, I like a quiz in general, but I'm happy with any variation on a quiz.
Right, so I have came up with a mini Celtic crossword where the answers can only be a max of 5 letters. So everything is at tops 5 letters long. I will bring it up on screen for you in a moment. But essentially, you're going to have, hopefully if it all works out right, you should only have 2 minutes on the clock to try and fire through as many as you possibly can. This is essentially just so we can post a clip on TikTok, Tino. So that's the excuse. That's your prize, TikTok fame, mate. So I'll bring it up on screen. I will then press the clock for you via my phone, and you will have 2 minutes to answer as many of them as possible. So we have it on screen. I'll let you look for a quick moment.
I need to get the glasses out. If I'm going to embarrass myself on TikTok, I might as well give myself the best possible chance. So, right, we're good to go.
Right, okay, so I'll let you, if as I said, if you're running out of time and you barely get through any, we'll scrap the timed aspect, but I'll give you a countdown from 3, and when I've done that, your your 2 minutes will start, and you just shout out the number and give me your answer, and I'll try and type it in as quickly as possible for you, right? Okie doke. Well, your time starts now.
3 across. Is that 7 for Rangers? SEVEN? No.
For 3 across? No, not
Oh,
7.
no.
Too generous.
4.
Too generous.
4. Let's go 4.
Hey, there you go. Good start.
Sent off against Feyenoord. There was 2 sent off against Feyenoord. Lagerbielka, so that doesn't count. Home, HOLM.
Home. Good answer. Nice.
6 across is 8.
8. There you go.
Celtic points in Europa. Born in the old Czech, is that Libo?
Yes, and that's what number was that?
8 across.
8 across. Yes, Lubo is correct.
Hearts player out for Sunday, so you've got Lauren Shankland, Cammy Devlin.
Cammy Devlin. Yes, that's right.
1 down. Nationality of Celtic's Europa League opponents is Dutch.
Yes. Good man, you're fine here.
Yeah. Team played in UEFA Cup final. Porto, 2 down.
Nice. God, I've made this too easy for you.
5 down. Now, I think you've got that wrong, eh?
Oh, I have got that wrong. Oh, right, there you go. I've got
We'll
that
go my
wrong.
head just for
I've
fun.
got that wrong. I meant to put assisted. Oh, God.
Right, okay. And the Utrecht goalie now, 7 down. G.
Now, see, the thing is, right, I have definitely put the right answer in here, but it's giving you the wrong... This is messed up. I used a generator.
Right.
If you get it, I'll give you the right answer, but it does not start with a G.
All right. So Paddy was talking about him. He's just come back in after injury and obviously made a mess of it for the first goal. I really don't know. Is he Polish?
Oh, wait, nationality of Utrecht keeper, it does start with a G. It does.
Oh, does it?
I was thinking name.
Okay.
I'll give you an extra... You've got 5 seconds left, but I'll give you an extra 10 because of the mishap there.
G. Ghana.
No, not Ghana. Not Ghana. You've got 5 seconds if you want to try and get
Leon
for 8 down. Leon for 8 down. Right. You are out of time. And to be fair to you, Tino, considering there was a couple of wee errors that I should have looked over there, you done really well. You managed to get 7 out of 8. But I think you'll kick yourself with the nationality of the Utrecht keeper.
Greek.
Yes, he is Greek. And do you know why he's Greek?
Because he was born in Greece.
Yes, but do you know who he is?
No, go on.
It's Vasilis Barkas, mate.
Of course, they all
Vasilis Barkas is the Greek goalkeeper that plays for Utrecht. I thought that would have been discussed so heavily by yourself by now.
Do you know, I got confused because you heard me saying that Paddy was talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
Paddy was talking to me about the Bologna goalie who's come back in. So I got myself just like you, I got myself tied in knots when it came to that crossword.
Well, do you know what? You done well there because you got 7 out of 8. And considering I must have just when I scored Celtic's first goal versus Bologna, I did have in my head assisted because I wanted it to be 5 letters. But you done well. And do you know what? You should be proud of that. For the first time, I've done a 2-minute crossword.
It means a lot to me to come on here in episode 161 and get so near yet so far with the crossword. So, no, pride is the overwhelming emotion.
You win a great sense of pride, mate. Thanks very much. Right, okay, segment 2. Let's fire through it and we can get on to the Twitter questions. Hearts are the opposition this weekend. It's a huge game. It's a massive game, in fact, on a week of huge occasions for Celtic. A game which a lot of people are saying could very well help determine what happens come the end of the season. Tynecastle hasn't been a happy hunting ground so far for Celtic this campaign. They need to right the wrongs of actually 2 games against Hearts when you think of what happened at Celtic Park as well. This could mean so much, Tino. What is your kind of thoughts just heading into the weekend to kick us off?
I think, so I know Hearts had their kind of early season wobble. They had a wee spell where they only had, I think, 1 win in 5. Mm-hmm. I think this is a bigger test of their credentials than that because they're now having to go without the personnel. I don't think Derek McInnes has rotated his squad a whole lot this season. He's gone tried and tested with various guys. And actually, you talk about the 4 key players missing: Lauren Shankland, Cammy Devlin, Benny Beningame through suspension, and the goalie, is it Schwolov, through suspension?
Yes.
Yeah, that's 4 starters. Beningame maybe not every time, but the other 3 start just about every game. And I think this is a real test of the strength of their squad and how capable they are. In the modern game, 11, 12 players can't win you titles. Back in the day they could. In this modern game with 5 substitutes, you can't keep going back to the well with the same guys because injuries and or suspensions will kick in. And that is now, that is the here and now for Hearts. So I think that's a huge test for them. But as we know, they're still a decent side. And they would probably see a draw as a decent result. And I just wonder if that changes how Derek McInnes sets up. I think Derek McInnes against Wilfried Nancy would go for it. The potentially go 9 points clear would be too good to turn down. I think under Martin O'Neill, he knows that we're a different beast. And I don't think he'll go gung-ho in any way, shape or form, even though they're at home. And I think he would take the draw just now, which might make for quite a turgid, sticky game of football. And it might be the odd goal that decides it, a 2-1 type thing for Celtic. And that, I know I'm jumping the gun, that's what I would be. I think Celtic have got the bit between their teeth. A lot of folks suggested, you should rest players for the Bologna game. You rest players, you lose that game. How do you feel today, tomorrow at Lennoxtown? Not great, a bit so-so. Instead, I know a lot of guys played a lot of minutes last night, but the feel-good factor in terms of just digging deep as a unit, digging deep as a team and getting a result 2-2, travelling back is different. How you're feeling about yourself as you land back in Glasgow, as you head up to Lennoxtown today, all those things play a factor. And Celtic are now in far better form than they would have been had they rested a couple of players. Physically, there might be a wee bit of tiredness, that kicks in, but adrenaline and just the team spirit will get us through this 90 minutes. I don't think you'll see much by way of fatigue. We've got a couple of other options to freshen up as well. The new signing, what are we going with? Shvanchara? Is that how we're pronouncing that?
Well, I think I've been told to go with either what you've just... So you said Shvanchara. I've been told it's either that or Chavanchara. I think we could just roll with Thomas, if you like. I don't know. It's up to yourself.
we were going with Big Tam or TC to his close friend. So TC, he'll come in and give a bit of freshness. Araujo at right back will do the same, and Iheanacho may well feature. Martin O'Neill said that he's not ready to start, but he might play a part. So all of a sudden you've got 3 fresh options as well. So fatigue won't be a thing. I know I've given a big, long, rambling answer, but I feel good about it, and I think Celtic should be just going all out here to try and get the all-important win.
No, look, listen, going into the game on Thursday, I said I had a weird air of optimism about me, even though I've been, let down greatly this season, and I'll refrain from getting back into that for now, but I had this weird air of optimism come over me kind of Wednesday afternoon. I think a lot of it was brought on by the form that Bologna were in, whereas you can't really say that about Hearts, but I think that this, look, if you win, great. If you lose, and you pick up Monday morning and you see where you go from there. But I think the whole thing about tired legs and rotation and stuff is going to be blown up by those that choose that narrative. And I just think that when you look at Hearts, who are missing, as you said already, 4 of their starters, and granted it seems like they're trying to move quickly to pick up the pieces and make sure that they are set for the second half of the season come the end of this window, which is something that we can only dream of. But when you look at this game in particular, they're missing 4 starters. Yes, they haven't played midweek, but Celtic have these fresh players coming in. Thomas Chavanchara, as you've said, Julian Araujo, players that have been used to playing twice a week, every week for the last God knows how many years. I get it, Tynecastle's tough at the best of times, never mind when you're off the back of a European away day, but I just feel like it's something that us as a support always overthink a wee bit when these are professionals paid thousands of pounds a week to do their job, and that is play 2 games of football a week. So maybe that's just a naive way of looking at things, but I don't think we should use it as a reason to worry. My worry just comes around with the general quality of our performances against Hearts so far this season. We need to be better, and of course Martin O'Neill, this is his first time taking them on, so we will see something a bit different, and hopefully that will be better. You brought up the point about Celtic maybe needing to just have that bit between their teeth. After the Falkirk game last week, I said that, a win's a win, but this isn't a sustainable way to win a league title. Celtic will need to improve. However, I would bend that to go round this game because, I don't know about you, Tynecastle, once again, a win's a win, and it doesn't need to be pretty on Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. I heard Calum McGregor's piece on Sky Sports earlier on, kind of 4 or 5 minutes or so, talking briefly about the Wilfried Nancy era, saying it was too much too soon, all those kind of things. But he then went on to talk about at this club it's all about winning, and you can get the win first, and you can worry about performance in the next game. So get the win at all costs at Tynecastle, and then take the nice free-flowing attacking football into your next game, or that can be the target for the next game. And as Martin O'Neill has stressed, I think Martin O'Neill said it just about in every interview since he came back second time around, winning's the name of the game. This is all about winning. He said other things and we want to play well and we've done okay in spells, but it's all about winning. And I suppose it's one of maybe several things that let Wilfried Nancy down. Of course, he wanted to win, but he maybe didn't quite understand the need to win, if that's the right word, here in Scotland or at Celtic. And Martin O'Neill's drugged that in. And it's, your first job is win the game. Second job can make it pretty if you want. And I think that'll be the mindset going into this. I think I'd love to be flying the wall in the moments before kick-off at Tynecastle, because I think it'll be a Martin O'Neill masterclass from back in the day. I think it'll be proper hairs on the neck stuff. And I think these are the games that he thrives on. I picked up on the fact that when he was interviewed after the Talbot game on the park with Conor McLaughlin, Lenny and Michael Stewart, when he finished his interview and walked away, Neil Lennon said, he's playing it all careful and cagey and stuff. He said he'll be buzzing about the week ahead, buzzing about going to Bologna and buzzing about going to Tynecastle, because this is what Martin O'Neill is. He's a big game manager, and as I say, he'll give the respect to Talbots and Falkirks and all those teams. This is what it's all about for him, and he'll be desperate to get to 3 o'clock on Sunday, and I think he'll make sure that his players feel the same. And I think with the support from Maloney and Fotheringham, I think we'll be in a good place, and I think we'll go and get the job done. It might not be pretty, and as I say, we might have to eke out a 1-0 or a 2-1, but I think we do get the job done.
To underline the importance of this game, I have a big question. In this podcast, we like jumping to the extremes. We're not one of these reactionary podcasts. Some people will disagree there. But yeah. I've been asked this question so many times, and I've had to answer it. And I've answered it with the same answer. So I want to hear what you say. If Celtic lose at Tynecastle on Sunday, is it curtains? Because a lot of people have been asking that question.
No, I mean, it's a long way back. 9 points with 15 games to play. But Martin O'Neill won't allow Celtic to think that way. So yes, of course, it'd be an extremely tough ask to come back from that at that stage. And I don't think we'll be in that position come Sunday night, but we might be. No, I think there's enough spirit, Martin O'Neill-led spirit, that Celtic will keep on scrapping come what may. But of course, if you're 9 back with so few games to play, that said, it is a 3-way race for the first time in a long time. So teams are eating each other up. And if Celtic were to fail on Sunday, but then find a level of consistency over the remaining 15 games, who knows? And it's one thing playing catch-up when there's no pressure. Hearts aren't expected to win a title. It's a whole different ballgame when you're at the top and the chasing pack are coming for you. And that's a different thing for players to handle. Whether they can handle that without their captain in Shankland, without their player of the year so far, midfielder in Cammy Devlin, Beningame and so on. I don't know. That's over to Hearts. That's their question in terms of their mentality. I just know that it feels like all of a sudden there's a very strong mentality about Celtic. And if we do go 9 points clear, it won't be done at that point if that's the case.
I think we are singing through the same hymn sheet. I think my wording, I don't know if you would agree with this part, but my wording over the last few days when I've been asked time and time again that question is, until it's Rangers that are 9 points clear, I'm not going to say it's curtains. I think it would be a different story if this was a game at Ibrox this weekend and Rangers could go 9 clear. Then I think, and that's not me turning around and saying that suddenly Rangers are this great team and they're much better than us, but I think there's just a psychology around the Glasgow sides that if you get that far ahead, you don't let it slip. And if they were going 9 clear, I think it'd be different. And I'm not trying to discredit Hearts. Look, they're in this conversation for a reason. They've got themselves to this point. I mean, it was October, we'll see where they are in November. It was November, we'll see where they are in December. Like, we're coming into February and they're top of the table by 6 points. They've deserved to be where they are. But there is still that aspect of injuries catching up with them, the pressure of being in this position, which they haven't had to do as a football club since God knows when. Like, as I said, if it was Rangers, different story. Hearts, I think they're still... And I agree, I don't think we'll lose this weekend. But
are you... Ryan, as a young man, are you up to speed with
Yes.
Hearts of 40 years ago, Love Street, Albert Kidd, all
Well,
that?
my dad was actually at Love Street that day,
Was he?
so
Brilliant.
I've heard the stories time and time again from him, and look, maybe there's a wee bit of that in there. Do you think we could see that replay itself?
Well, so of course, the current group of players and Derek McInnes weren't part of that, but I think there's scarring for an older generation of Hearts fans, so maybe to bring some folks up to speed on it. 40 years ago, the 1986 season, as it played out, Celtic would have had to win their final game by at least 3 or 4 clear goals, and we needed Hearts to lose. Seemingly unthinkable. Hearts had been in a great place for most of the season. Celtic go to Love Street, win 5-0, and you still see the goals played back to this day. They're wearing this lime green strip. Phenomenal stuff. Just an amazing Celtic memory. And I'm glad your dad was there. My dad was there. James,
Oh, is he?
my brother from the show, he was there. The Hearts lost it on the last day, on goal difference, I'm sure, on goal difference. And there's a famous picture, and maybe we'll try and share it in the socials. It's two Hearts fans up against the railing, just completely dejected. Their dreams evaporating in front of their very eyes. And as I say, I think it is something that hangs about Hearts fans of a certain generation. It will be in the back of mind somewhere, and it's ironic that we're 40 years to the year. As we approach it. So yeah, that might play a part somewhere.
Well, as I said, look, listen, win and you don't need to stress about it as much for the next few weeks. Hopefully it's just the start, it's going in a row, and that's it. It's all about momentum, and Celtic have a real good chance to just start building momentum, isn't it? Like, you don't want to let that slip, because once again, I don't think it would be the end of the world as of yet if we were to lose Sunday, but to have this opportunity to get the point in Bologna, to then beat Hearts, and then to go on and maybe make a couple of signings to end the window, you're suddenly looking at maybe a change of narrative for the whole season as well. It would be such a moment to let slip by.
Yeah, 100%. As you say, from last night, if you set last night as the first stage, getting a result last night, brilliant. If we can repeat the trick but go one better and get the win on Sunday, brilliant stuff again. Utrecht, you can qualify for the latter stages, and if you sign a couple of players, you're in a brilliant position. You're in knockout Europa League. You're 3 behind Hearts at the top of the table. You've strengthened for the run-in between February and May. And you listen, we can agree, and there's a bigger picture at play at Celtic, and those factors don't remove many of the failings that are going on behind the scenes. But just in terms of talking purely football, what a boost that would give us getting into February.
Absolutely. Look, I don't want to keep you here all night, so I'll ask you one more question before we go into the wee Twitter segment that I have lined up for us. I guess the only big question about tomorrow's game that we've kind of alluded to but haven't fully answered is, would you be starting Thomas Chivinchara from the kick-off, from the off? Is he the starting striker for you at Tynecastle?
I think we do start him. And Martin O'Neill's been very clever again. I've watched him in 3 separate interviews now saying, listen, this guy's not the answer to all the problems. It's unfair to put that pressure on the player. I think that's just good man management. Again, just taking the weight off. But there is a short piece. I think Chivinchara done the pre-match, so you can see the clips of that now. And he was saying he's ready to go. He's been back in Germany for some time. The loan move to Turkey didn't work out. He wasn't getting paid, all that kind of thing. He's been back prepping, and he says he's ready to go, when called upon. And I think Johnny Kenny's got a niggle as well, just into the bargain. And I think you've got the opportunity to play the big target man through the middle, put Maeda back to his more comfortable left-hand side. Yang, I think, would be in the right-hand side. And Yang's got unfinished business at Tynecastle, by the way, just in terms of the John Beaton effect when he was flying back at that time. But I've defended Yang enough elsewhere. I won't bring it onto your own channel. But
do you know what's funny? See when you bring that up, see the night before that game, we were out for an Indian dinner, me and my mates, in the Green Gates Cafe in the Merchant City, and no word of a lie, the table beside us the night before that game was John Beaton. He was sitting at the table beside us, and I jokingly made a dig because listen, I'm not grassing anybody in here, but he had a pint. No, just the one. He wasn't on the slash or nothing. Just a wee pint of his dinner, and I made the joke: if he makes a mistake tomorrow, I'm phoning the SFA and grassing on him, and bang, lo and behold, look what happened that day.
I mean, low be it for me to defend John Beaton. It might have been a 0 alcohol pint. You never know.
True.
But as it happens, Yang was on decent form going into that game, and that yellow took away his momentum. Listen, I'm a massive Yang fan, and I'm so pleased for him finding a bit of form just now. But yeah, I think that could be your front three: Maeda left, Yang right, Chivinchara through the middle, with an option of Iheanacho coming on for the last half hour. All of a sudden, your options just changed dramatically with that signing. And if Johnny Kenny were to miss out, and as I say, he's going for a scan apparently, then I think the stage is set for a big debut. You think back, Scott Sinclair debuted at Tynecastle under Brendan Rodgers, scored the winner in a 2-1 victory, for example. No reason why Chivinchara can't repeat the trick on Sunday.
I hope so. Look, I want him to succeed. I've got a wee bit of a personal connection with him because of a Football Manager save that I done last year. So I'm hoping that he... Listen, I said that with Sviad Haksabanovic as well. We've seen how that one went. So let's hope it's not a repeat of that. So, yeah, that's that for the Hearts preview. We'll see how it goes. And hopefully, once again, similar to how I said about Utrecht, we're back here next week or the next time after that game talking with smiles on our faces. Right, let's finish up with some questions and answers. We have a quick few to go through in this last 10 minutes of the show. And I will start off with Decky, who asked the question: we definitely need a winger in before the deadline. Yang and Taneke are blowing hot and cold at the minute. Both barely had a sniff last night, and there isn't much better in the bench. I'll let you come in here in a moment. I think the only defence I could give to any, and I've been a very, critical of Yang. I think I'm even more critical of Taneke. I think in the defence of them last night, especially after we went down to 10 men, we changed the whole system, which didn't really complement wingers all that well. So I wouldn't hold them too accountable for maybe not having a sniff last night. But I think the general point of blowing hot and cold is very true. Both players have struggled to put long-term consistency together. We still need a winger in this window, I think. What about you?
It's a very fair question. I think Decky was also the kebab pie question.
He was.
Shout out to Decky in general. But yeah, you could certainly argue it. But another striker does let you move Maeda out left. So you might have Maeda and Taneke as your left options. Maybe we're light on the right-hand side, Yang plus one other. I don't know if James Forrest has got much left to give. I hope so, but maybe it's too much to ask him to go to the well again at his age. The thing that makes a good winger, a proper good winger, is consistency. We've seen it in flashes from Taneke that he can play ball. Great goal against Talbot last week. We know that Yang can have big moments. Amazing goal against Rangers. But you can't have 2 good games and 4 bad games and then 1 good game and 2. You can't do that if you're to be successful at Celtic, and that's the big test. If they can find that consistency, then we can kick on, and maybe we just need that wee bit more competition. And to go back to a Brendan Rodgers-ism, competition can often be the best coach. So if you're a winger and there's a guy breathing down your neck, and the James Forrest-Patrick Roberts comparison was a good one. James Forrest was going through a bit of indifferent form. Patrick Roberts came in and put pressure on him, and then they both just complemented each other and kicked on. So I think the centre forward would allow Maeda to be the left competition for Taneke, albeit very different types of wingers. And Yang maybe could do with someone on the right wing. And it does seem like the team, or the club, are looking at wingers. There's lots of links there. So it seems that they too have realised, as well as Decky has, that we do need someone out there.
Absolutely. How impressed, this is Nathan by the way, saying, how impressed have you been? But hold on, actually. I clicked on the replies to that and I seen that you've only gave the kebab pie a 6 out of 10. A 6?
A 6. Listen, back in my youth, I'd have been all over it, but this is this slightly older, slightly healthier eating kind of character. But the kebab pie, it's fun and games at the time, but it leaves a heavy vibe all round once you've kind of gone down that road. So I'll stick with my 6. I meant it at the time, I mean it now.
Wow, big call from the podcast that's all about kebab pies. Do you know what? Listen, maybe I'll get to a certain day in my life where it all just comes crashing down and I'm like, yep, do you know what? Tino's right.
I can guarantee it.
Right, so Nathan asked the question, and I'm pretty sure I did see you talking in the Patreon chat with your members yesterday, talking about you were glad to see Colby getting the nod. So I'm assuming that you're a big fan of Colby, or at least a fan of Colby. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'm assuming that you are. Nathan did ask the question: how impressed have you been by young Colby, considering he didn't have a single professional minute under his belt before August? He stepped up brilliantly in all 3 of the European away games that we got points: Belgrade, Rotterdam, Bologna. 3 tough places to go.
Yeah, I think he's done brilliantly, and I remember speaking about Donovan at the time. He'd been to Belgrade, he'd played, I think he either started or come off the bench, I think at Rugby Park that day where Taneke made his debut, Iheanacho scored the winner. He played at Ibrox, I think, and then Celtic got back to Celtic Park after I think 3 or 4 games in the road. And I thought, this is great, Donovan will start again and we can kick on. And Rodgers dropped him and put Tony Ralston in, and I thought it was such a strange move because it just seemed the natural next step in his development. Back home, get the friends and family and watch me make my home debut for Celtic from the start. And Brendan Rodgers decided not to do that. I really couldn't make sense of that one. But that's maybe a slightly separate thing in terms of the bigger picture. I think to come in as a young lad in what we've described as Celtic's season of chaos and to perform admirably during that time, all credit to him. And he'll only be better for the tough experiences and even the downsides, the poor experiences under Nancy, who didn't really play him that much. He'll learn from that. He'll learn a bit more about himself. He'll learn a bit more about the game in general. And I think there's a real potential that he could be the next academy graduate to become a mainstay in the first team, because it's been too long since we had one, and it's too long since we've seen the breakthroughs of KTs, Calmax, James Forrests. You've got players who have came through but haven't done as well. If you want to look at Tony Ralston and Stephen Welsh, for example, we need someone who's going to become a first team regular. Colby Donovan could be that guy.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think I've also said a number of times this season that he's still got a long way to go, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, when you only make your professional debut in August, you're not going to be the finished article by February the following year, so he has got a long way to go, but the initial signs are encouraging, and that's, as you said, something we've waited a long time to say about an academy player.
Just to add a wee bit on it, I do credit Brendan Rodgers with, at the time when he made the breakthrough, saying that he's got the personality to play for Celtic, and I thought it was important that he said that, because that gives the player a boost. There's no doubt players watch press conferences, read the headlines, catch the social media clips. He'll have seen that and he'll have got a boost through that. But actually, I clocked Donovan. He was reluctant to go off last night, and credit to him. When he did go off, and Tony Ralston had a couple of really key interceptions, by the way, credit where it's due as well. But when Donovan was walking off, I thought he looked a bit zoomed out, like he'd taken a bit of a concussion. I don't know if you caught it.
Yeah.
He was high-fiving guys, and he just looked a wee bit spaced out. But I think credit to him for just wanting to be on that park and play his part and getting the result. And he done that, and he played as big a part as anybody last night. So yeah, I think it's early days for him, but the signs are promising.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, I'll go through 2 or 3 more because I don't want to keep Tino here all of his Friday night. Plus, I need to get this uploaded. So, we'll go through a couple. I've got one more serious one for you, and then a couple of just get to know you type questions, Tino, for those that might be wondering the big questions. So, the final one I ask is in regards to last night, or the final serious one. It's from Aidan saying, most of Celtic's success in Europe in my lifetime has come when we've played on the counter and given up a decent amount of possession. Is it time to adopt this as our way to go when we play decent sides rather than trying to play and playing well but ultimately not getting results?
There is a lot to be said for that. We all remember the Ange Postecoglou v Real Madrid. We won the half-time cup. We played well in the first half. Calum McGregor hit the post. We then get pumped 3-0 in the second half. So what do you get for that? And yeah, I think there's got to always be a level of pragmatism when you head out in Europe, particularly against the bigger sides. And I mean, Brendan Rodgers took some hammerings, PSG, Barcelona, all that stuff. I just think Martin O'Neill was more streetwise. I think he knows when it's time to shut up shop. I think he knows when it's time to go for it. And you can do both in the one game. At times you can take the handbrake off, at times you can be conservative. So, I mean, the thing is, in all likelihood, it won't be Martin O'Neill next season. So we'll need to maybe revisit the question when we see who it's going to be in terms of the long-term manager. But I think there's a lot to be said for playing the opposition. If you're going against Utrecht next week, get the game done by half-time. Go for broke, get that one done. If you then face, say it is Porto in the next one, then you need to be pretty careful away from home. Maybe try and shut up shop, get away with a draw, and then take care of business back at Celtic Park, for example. So yeah, there's always a debate for playing it a bit safer. And the bottom line is, it's so unique at Celtic that you can go from playing 6-tier Rockin' like Talbot one week, and days later you're playing against Serie A Bologna. So you need to just have the different ways of playing at Celtic. It's such a unique offering, and I think smart managers will have that, Martin O'Neill or otherwise.
Yeah, and for me, just to add in a final sort of comment, is I think it is always at the end of the day circumstantial to what you have as well. I've been using a saying the last few days about how you can only pish with a certain whatever you've got, and then if you've not got a squad that's made for playing football or total football or any of these things, then what are you going to do? I suppose you can only be so limited. It's circumstantial for me, but I think that you're kind of spot on there in what you said. And when a new manager comes in, we'll have to revisit it. So a couple more just to finish off for you. First of all, and the people will kill me if I don't ask you, Logan is asking, your meal deal choices, what is it? Hit us, Tino, hit us.
I mean, I'm speaking to a Tesco aficionado here.
That's right, alumni.
Alumni. Nothing exciting. I mentioned earlier on, I like a can of Dr. Pepper. Is that weird?
I love
I like cherry Coke and Dr. Pepper, things like that.
Good man.
The sandwich will just be like a ham and mustard or a ham and cheese.
Right.
Just a bag of crisps, just a simple bag of crisps, salt and vinegar.
Salt and vinegar. I was going to ask any particular flavour or
I used to like
whatnot.
prawn cocktail as a kid. I don't know if they still do prawn cocktail, but
No, they still do. I mean, some of the companies. I stick in my zone with kind of salt and vinegar and just kind of stick with that. You know.
Stay in your lane. As I say, maybe prawn cocktail and kebab pies were a thing of the past, but this new, older, slightly less adventurous character will just go salt and vinegar.
I tell you what though, before we go anywhere, if you're thinking to yourself, oh, that's a bit boring, ham and cheese, I'll tell you right now, Tino, when we went down to London, Tino introduced me to gyozas for the first time in my life, and I'm not joking when I say this here. See, ever since we've got back from London, I think I've had them 5 out of 7 days of the week for my lunch. Just the frozen. Love them, mate. Love them. You've changed my life.
I can't remember what you call it, but there's a wee place at Euston Station.
Itsu,
it's well worth a go. And I have to laugh, so you're referencing the trip. So myself, Ryan and Asim went down for the Call Yourself a Fan recording. Great fun, really good. And I suppose a lot of your guys will have checked out on YouTube, but it is worth a watch. It was good fun, Jimmy Bullard and others. Just a fun day out, but I was laughing afterwards. I said it felt like taking my 2 nephews on a trip down south. I'm of a certain age. Ryan's younger. Asim's probably somewhere in between. But it was like taking the Waynes for a wee trip in a good way. It was great fun. Really enjoyed it.
It was a great day, and if you haven't watched the quiz, I would recommend it. We done pretty well. Without spoiling it for anybody who hasn't seen it, I'd say we done pretty well, didn't we, Tina?
And you know, credit where it's due. There is a final round. It's a quick fire round, 90 seconds. Rattle through as many questions as you can. It was just general knowledge in football. And hats off to Ryan and to Asim. The boys absolutely flew at it. So well done.
That was great. What a day. What a day. Hopefully we get invited back down for the end of season special. We'll see. Right, so the final question, and I feel kind of terrible asking this. No, let's not incriminate anybody here or anything like that, but I'm sure you've actually done some content with Paul of Channel 67 before. He's a great guy. Love his stuff. He said... dream Celtic blunt rotation, 4 names, please. If there's 4 people we just like to, let's just change it to a chill out situation, because I know my answer is Brendan Rodgers, and you know what? The door can shut after that. See if it's just me and Brendan Rodgers back and forth having a laugh. That'll do me.
Got you. Is that what it means, blunt? Like having a sesh, 4 guys having a smoke with? Is that the?
Aye.
Who would be good?
I mean, I would never partake, but you know, maybe some people. Some people would.
Paul Murphy's a lot of fun. Paul's been on our show, Channel 67. Check it out if you haven't already. Lubo Moravcik's got to be in there. One of the coolest guys to play for Celtic. Very easy, Ozzy. Very humble about his world-class talent, but he would be in the mix somewhere. Anyone from the current team? Tom Rogic is a laid-back kind of guy. He'd be quite fun, philosophical. And I like Alistair Johnson. He's got a lot to say. I think he could get pretty deep at some point. 4th guy, can we get a 4th guy in there? Let's get Big Ange in for the bigger picture philosophy.
You're getting there'll be a big Aussie vibe to the party, yeah. That's good. I mean, that could be nice.
That'd be a nice time. We'd all have a nice time regardless.
Brilliant. And I tell you what was a nice time having you on the show today, Tino. Thank you once again for joining me and filling in a gap this evening on a Friday night where I thought we were going to be out of a Celtic the Thunder this week. So you answered the call, and I'm sure the people will be very grateful for that. So I hope you've enjoyed your time, mate.
Do you know, like Martin O'Neill, I'm happy to step into the breach when the call comes in, Ryan. So that was great. And listen, you guys do some brilliant stuff and keep doing what you're doing. But great to be here tonight and happy to come on anytime, mate.
Brilliant. If you haven't already, please make sure and head over to everywhere, all the stations and networks and whatever that you can find the Celtic Exchange on. I will try and, I know that YouTube has this new collaboration feature where you can essentially tag the other channel. I'll leave the Celtic Exchange down below so you can go and subscribe if you haven't. But for today and for tonight, that's us, the Celtic the Thunder this week. We'll be back next week to discuss what happens in whatever fashion it happens. I don't know. But for now, thank you everybody. Take care of yourself. Enjoy your weekend. And hopefully we beat Hearts and we're closer to the place where we belong at the top of the table. See you next time.